I almost did not stop in Harlow. I had been driving for 6 hours and I was tired in the wrong way, the way where you could feel the edges of your thinking getting soft, where the road ahead was starting to blur just slightly at the limits of your focus. I had passed 2 towns already. Both of them had looked closed, the kind of small town that pulled its shutters in at 9 and did not open them again until 7. No vacancy signs, no lights in the diner windows. I had told myself I would make it to the next exit with a chain motel, and I had believed myself, and then the next exit had been 40 miles, and I had not quite made it believing myself that far. The sign for Harlow said population 1,200. It said welcome in a font that had been cheerful once and had weathered into something more neutral. It said bed and breakfast with an arrow pointing left on the main road. I turned left. Harlow was the kind of small town that presented itself well at night. The main street had older buildings, brick, well-maintained, with hanging flower baskets on the lamp posts that were dead now in October but had clearly been tended earlier in the season. A diner with lights on. A hardware store. A church at the end of the street, white clapboard, steeple, the most central-casting small-town church I had ever seen. The bed and breakfast was on a side street off the main. A Victorian house, large, with a lit porch and a vacancy sign in the window. I parked in the small lot beside it and I sat in the car for a moment, looking at the house. I am going to tell you about the feeling I had in that moment, because I think it matters. It was not the feeling of anything being wrong. It was more neutral than that. A flatness. The town felt flat to me in a way I did not have words for, a lack of texture, like a place that was presenting itself rather than simply existing. I had driven through hundreds of small towns, and they all had a quality of presence, of accumulated ordinary life, that this one did not quite have. Or that it had but in a slightly deliberate way, the way a stage set had it. I told myself I was tired. I got out of the car. The woman who answered the door was in her 60s. Silver hair, reading glasses on a chain, a cardigan. She smiled at me and said, of course, she had a room. It was late for a traveler to be out. She brought me inside and showed me the guest book, and I signed it, and she gave me a key and showed me upstairs to a room that was clean and warm and perfectly ordinary. Her name was Margaret. She told me this when she handed me the key. She said if I needed anything, the kitchen was always open and to help myself to whatever was there. I said thank you. I said the town was lovely. I said I had not planned to stop, but I was glad I had. She smiled at me and said, "We're glad to have you." She said it pleasantly, and I went into my room and locked the door, and I thought nothing more of it.